The sky was gray the morning everything changed. The cemetery was silent except for the low sobs of a child, her small hands clutching a wilted flower that trembled in the cool wind. The earth was still fresh over her mother's grave, and the girl, just 9 years old, felt as if the world had buried her heart along with the only parent who ever truly loved her. But the nightmare had only just begun. Within hours of leaving the funeral, still dressed in her simple white dress smudged with soil and tears, she would find herself abandoned, her little suitcase tossed in the dirt, and her pleas ignored. Her stepfather, standing in the doorway of the house that once smelled of her mother's cooking, had decided she no longer belonged. And so, the girl was cast out, grieving, terrified, and alone, until destiny placed someone unexpected in her path, a millionaire whose sudden arrival would alter her life forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion to change lives, please take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so we can continue to bring you stories that touch the heart and remind us all of what really matters. The story begins with the funeral, a small gathering, poorly attended, because poverty has a way of isolating people. The mother, though she had little, was rich in love. She raised her daughter with tenderness and taught her to find joy even in hardship. But her sudden passing left behind a void too wide for a child to cross. The stepfather stood stiff and cold by the graveside, not a single tear falling down his face. To him, the funeral was not about loss but about freedom. Freedom from responsibility, from obligation, from a child who reminded him of a woman he no longer wished to remember. Back at the house, while neighbors left quietly and the air still carried the scent of lilies and damp soil, the little girl wandered through rooms that felt empty without her mother's laughter. She picked up a framed photo from the table, a picture of her mother holding her, taken years ago. Hugging it tightly, she whispered promises to never forget, to always be strong. But her stepfather had other plans. His voice, cold and sharp, broke through her thoughts. He told her to pack her things. Confused and terrified, she obeyed, stuffing her few clothes into a battered suitcase. She tried to ask why, tried to cling to the only home she had left, but he pushed her toward the door. Outside, the sky began to drizzle, as if nature itself mourned with her. She cried out, begging him to let her stay, reminding him that her mother would not have wanted this. But the man's heart was unmoved. He tossed her suitcase into the dirt, grabbed the framed family photo, and threw it beside her before slamming the door shut. The girl collapsed, clutching the photograph, her tears mixing with the rain and mud. In that moment, the world seemed to have turned against her completely. Alone, cold, and abandoned, she wondered how she could possibly survive. What she didn't know was that a pair of watchful eyes had been observing the scene from a distance. A man in a crisp white suit, briefcase in hand, had been passing by. He was no ordinary man but a millionaire businessman known for his success, yet burdened by his own lonely heart. He had lost his family years ago and buried himself in work, convinced that money could replace love. But when he saw the little girl in the mud, her face streaked with tears, something inside him stirred. For the first time in years, he felt the pang of empathy cut through his hardened soul. The millionaire approached slowly, his polished shoes sinking into the damp earth. The girl looked up at him, her eyes wide with fear and disbelief. He could have walked past, could have told himself it wasn't his problem, but instead, he set down his briefcase and knelt beside her. Though she had never met him before, she felt a strange warmth, a safety in his presence that she thought had died with her mother. The millionaire asked nothing of her except for her name. And when he heard it, he whispered it gently, as though promising to remember it always. He picked up her suitcase, wiped the mud from the framed photo, and told her she didn't deserve to be out here. Something in his voice carried the weight of truth. The girl, hesitant at first, allowed herself to trust him. Step by step, he led her away from the house that had rejected her, toward a future she could not yet imagine. Days turned into weeks, and the millionaire made good on his silent vow. He didn't see her as a burden but as a chance to heal not only her broken life but his own. He gave her shelter, food, and, most importantly, love. For the first time since her mother's passing, the girl laughed again, her small voice echoing through the halls of his mansion, breathing life into rooms that had long felt empty. But it wasn't without challenges. The scars of rejection weighed heavy on her young heart. Nightmares would wake her, tears staining her pillow as she relived the moment she was cast aside. Each time, the millionaire would sit by her side, telling her she was safe now, that she would never be abandoned again. Slowly, her broken spirit began to mend. She went to school, made friends, and discovered talents she never knew she had. The millionaire, once a man defined by business and wealth, found himself defined instead by the bond he shared with the child who had stumbled into his life. Years passed, and the story of the girl once cast into the dirt transformed into the story of a young woman filled with dreams, ambition, and resilience. She never forgot her mother, nor the cruel day she was left behind, but she carried those memories as proof of how far she had come. And by her side always was the man who chose kindness when it would have been easier to walk away. By the end of their journey, both had found something priceless. She had found a father when she thought she had none, and he had found a daughter when he thought his heart could never love again. Together, they built a family not by blood, but by compassion, proving that sometimes the people we need most are the ones who appear when we least expect them. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so we can continue bringing you stories of love, kindness, and second chances. Life often surprises us in the most unexpected ways. Sometimes the people who are supposed to protect us turn their backs, and the world feels unbearably heavy. Yet, in those darkest moments, there are also people who step in, not because they have to, but because their hearts tell them it's the right thing to do. This story reminds us that family is not always about blood, but about love, compassion, and the choices we make to stand beside each other when it matters most. The little girl's journey is heartbreaking, but it also carries a powerful lesson. Kindness has the strength to change destinies. A single act, a single decision to care, can rewrite someone's future. The millionaire could have walked away, pretending he saw nothing. Instead, he chose to pause, to notice, and to care. That choice gave the girl not only a home but also the courage to dream again. In giving her hope, he rediscovered his own. We may not all have millions of dollars, but we each have something priceless to give: our time, our attention, and our kindness. To the child who feels invisible, a kind word may be enough. To someone standing in the rain of loneliness, simply noticing them may be the light they need. No gesture is ever too small when it comes from the heart. This story is not just about tragedy turning into hope, it is about us. It is about the way we choose to treat others in our everyday lives. We can choose to be the person who closes the door, or we can choose to be the one who opens it. And when we open it, when we let kindness lead, we not only change someone else's life, we change our own. So let us carry this message with us. Let us be a little more patient, a little more compassionate, and a little more willing to step in when someone is hurting. The world does not become brighter because of wealth or power, it becomes brighter when ordinary people choose extraordinary kindness. And maybe, just maybe, the story you heard today will inspire you to become someone else's turning point.